Um, Good morning, everyone. It's 10 minutes past 12. Welcome to the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce webinar for September. We appreciate all our board members here present. As it were, the president of the chamber is in Ibadan on an engagement, but so many of our board members are here. I acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the programs committee, Dame Adebola Williams. I also see Mr. Bayodo, chairman of our government affairs here. Mrs. Grace Adeyemo is here. I don't know who I might have missed, but I will be mentioning them as we go on. So we welcome every participant. We have about 50 people logged in now. So without much ado, I want to also introduce the speaker, Mr. Carl Littlejohn, the Deputy Chief of Party of USAID, West African Trade and Investment Corp, based in Abuja. You are welcome, Carl, with your team. I assume that you will introduce your team and coordinate as necessary as we go along. So,
go ahead.
Once again, we welcome you all. Mr. Bayo Idowu, are you there? Are you there, sir? Mr. Bayo Idowu. Hello? Hello? I can't seem to get him.
Hello?
Mr. Idowu, are you ready to say some remarks on behalf of the president now?
Yes, I am ready.
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, all. I present the best compliments from the National President of the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce, Otumba Toyin Akomolafe, whose address I'm reading to you right now. It is a great pleasure once again for us to host today's webinar for the month of September. This is coming in the wake of the one we had last month in August on Nigeria Economic Outlook, which was first monthly event post-COVID. We thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us again. The Chamber continues on its rejuvenation course focused on higher service levels to our distinguished members. Just yesterday, I led a team of Chamber representatives to visit the Lagos State Governor, His Excellency, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. We are glad to note that the excellent reception and warm response of the governor to our demands. Of course, we are both committed to the basic objectives of wealth creation in one form or the other. And this is the reason why today's webinar is even more timely and crucial. The West Africa Trade and Investment Hub, an initiative of the USAID, is set up with the aim of catalyzing economic growth in West Africa, utilizing a market-based approach. With its co-investment fund, the hub is expected to attract $300 million of private investment, create 40,000 new jobs, and increase regional and international trade. Emphasis will be on supporting agro-allied sector, value chain, as well as SMEs. Thereby, Carl Littleton, Deputy Chief of Party for USAID West African Trade and Investment Hub project, will lead his team's discussions on programs and opportunities available for companies to partner with the Trade Hub, notably under COVID-19 rapid response. Members interested in taking advantage of AGOA to export to the United States, as well as those interested in research and development initiatives within USAID's 5 target value chains: maize, rice, soy, cowpea, aquaculture, are highly encouraged to participate. The Secretariat will screen the list of our upcoming events and schedule dates for the rest of the year during this meeting. Also, for sponsorship opportunities of Chamber's various events, kindly contact the Secretariat. Without wasting further time, we welcome our colleagues from USAID. We thank our guest speakers, members, and everyone virtually here with us for kindly sparing the time to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish all of us all an enlightening and fruitful deliberation and interaction. Thank you for listening. Otumba Toyin Akomolafe, National President.
Thank you very much, sir. That was Mr. Abayo Idowu speaking on behalf of the Chamber President, Otumba Toyin Akomolafe. So without much ado, Carl, are you there? Are you ready for us?
I'm always ready. Yes.
Okay, so the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the kind words, Sola and Adebayo. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here. I am accompanied by members of the Trade Hub and USAID. So we're really happy to have them on as well, and they can answer any questions that you have that I might not be able to respond to when we do our question and answers. And I'll just go ahead and give you guys just a brief overview of what we are doing, not only in the region, but also in Nigeria, and more specifically, explain in greater details what kind of opportunities we have available for businesses, and next steps on how you can participate and take part. So we're really, once again, I'd like to thank the NACC for inviting us to this. We've been working very closely over the several months with Sola and Licken and Sharon. So we're real happy to be hosting you all today. So to begin, to give you guys a brief overview of what is the Trade Hub and what are we trying to do. So we are a regional project. We've been in operation now. We just passed our 1-year anniversary, but we're a 5-year program. We've already done 1 year, and we work all across the region. So that's the 15-member ECOWAS states, including Nigeria, of course, and then Mauritania, Chad, and Cameroon. So we have a very large zone of influence where we can intervene. As Adebayo mentioned earlier, we do have a co-investment fund that we can use to co-invest with the private sector to expand activities. And to get into a little bit more detail, we have 3 primary objectives for the Trade Hub. And the first is, was cited earlier. Our goal is to use this fund to catalyze new private investment into the region. So thanks to this co-investment fund, we are aiming to generate at least 5 times worth of new private investment into the region. And these are, when I say the fund, this is actually a grant fund where it's not a loan, but we would act as almost a private investor where we would partner with private sector entities to help grow their activities into the region, thanks to not only our grant funding, but also the new private investment that they would bring. Our grant sizes range from $250,000 to $2 million. So to give you an idea, we are trying to target at least 5 times worth that. So for example, if there is a company that wishes to expand their activities and request for $1 million, we would expect that that the private sector entity would bring at least 5 times worth that amount. So that would be the first primary objective. It's to generate this new private investment into the region. The second primary objective is job creation. So our goal is, if you could just mute yourself, please. Yes, so the second primary objective is to create jobs across the region. We have a target of at least 40,000 jobs created, new jobs created across the region, with at least half of them being dedicated to women and youth. And in particular, we're really keen on the gender aspect of these jobs. We're not only looking for the quantity, which is, at least 50%, but also the quality of the jobs. So that's really key to us, to make sure that women are put into supervisory roles, decision-making roles, and also favoring women-owned businesses. So this is our second primary objective. Our third primary objective is linked to export. We are a trade project, nevertheless. So we have a target of increasing the value of exports by at least $240 million. And this can be at a regional level. So for example, between Nigeria and Togo, Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, but also at a global level. So it can be to Europe, it can be to South America, but more particularly, we're very, very interested in the trade to the United States. One of the initiatives that we are promoting as a project is Prosper Africa. And this is why we're very happy to have this call with the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce, is that Prosper Africa as an initiative is trying to promote two-way trade between the United States and West Africa. And I should actually say trade and investment. It's a two-way, not only with trade, but also US investors who are interested in expanding their activities into the West Africa region. So these are co-investment initiatives that are really important to us and that we are strongly encouraging US investors and US companies to apply to our co-investment fund. With regards to trade, we also strongly promote trade with AGOA, which is a way for companies to export to the United States duty-free on a variety of goods. And not only do we have the co-investment fund that I mentioned before, we also have a separate assistance package that we can provide to companies to help them export to the United States under AGOA. We have our AGOA specialist, Kara Diallo, who fortunately is on the call, and we're happy to have him. He provides one-on-one technical assistance by providing trainings. We've already done several trainings, not only in Nigeria, but across the region, to companies to train them on how they can best utilize AGOA and the duty-free status, taking into account the FDA regulations, how the best way to get their goods exported to the United States duty-free. We also provide technical assistance for businesses looking for buyers in the United States as well. So we do provide several forms of technical assistance under AGOA. So that was really on a regional level where we are, but I do understand this is a call organized by the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce, and we are also focused on Nigeria. We not only can work across the region, we do have target countries where we have dedicated funding to use for these co-investment partnerships. And we're fortunate enough that Nigeria happens to be one of the largest target countries that we have. So a lot of our investments will be targeted to Nigeria. A few things to note is that with these target countries, each country has a specific strategy that we are adopting when looking for co-investment partners. And in Nigeria, it's not necessarily limited to this framework, but it is true that the majority of our co-investments will be aligned with the Feed the Future initiative that's currently ongoing in the country, led by USAID. The first is that as Adebayo mentioned before, we are looking for co-investments primarily in 5 value chains. So those, to repeat, those are maize, rice, soy, cowpea, and aquaculture. Okay, so we are looking more primarily to within these 5 value chains. We also have 7 targeted states in Nigeria, and those are Benue, Ebonyi, Delta, Cross River, Kaduna, Kebbi, and Niger. So those are our 7 states, 5 value chains. So the majority of our co-investment partnerships that we're looking for, and which we have actually started to develop because we've been operational for the past year, are within this framework. I want to reiterate that we are not necessarily limited to that framework. We're very, as I mentioned, we have a portion of our funding that is primarily linked to Prosper Africa, and any strong initiatives that promote two-way trade and investment between Nigeria and the United States can also be considered. So just wanted to give you guys an overview. That's clear that we are not only looking within these 5 value chains in 7 states, if there are strong proposals, particularly if there are major US either trade and investment, we are very interested in those as well. Before letting you all ask any questions that you have perhaps to myself and the team, one of the new developments that I'd like to talk a little bit more on as well is with COVID-19. And as you can tell, I am currently giving this presentation in my living room. So our offices are are actually closed at the moment, and only a few of staff go in and out. So, I mean, we are fully operational. We're very fortunate to be able to work remotely. But, you know, this is an example of major changes that we've seen across the region operationally. And we have noticed that working with the private sector over the past year, despite COVID-19, there is overall, the majority of the companies that we're working with are very motivated to continue these co-investment partnerships. Nevertheless, they also have realized that there are hurdles and issues that have arisen because of COVID-19, because of the lockdown previously, or because of limited movement, whether it's within the country or whether it's international. So we are very fortunate to have received additional funding that is specific for COVID-19 rapid response. So over the next year, we will be targeting countries that have very strong ideas and very strong expansion of activities where we can co-invest with them that directly respond to COVID-19. And those are divided by three particular objectives. The first objective is linked to financial actors and financial institutions. Our goal is to help increase the access of finance. So as we've seen, a lot of SMEs have been struggling during this time, particularly when it comes to cash flow and access to finance. So our first objective is linked to working with these financial actors and trying to build their capacity and reduce the risk of providing finance and to these SMEs during this difficult time. And this is not only in Nigeria. I should also mention that this COVID-19 rapid response is not only targeted to Nigeria, but also for the rest of the region. So we'll be working with financial actors to help reduce the risk that they have co-investing, well, investing in SMEs, and to help improve that access to finance. Our second objective during COVID-19 rapid response is job retention and creation. It's on both levels. We understand that a lot of businesses have experienced difficulties during this time, particularly within our 5 value chains that we're targeting here in Nigeria. And we hope to work with them to be able to co-invest and to retain the level of jobs that they might have lost without our assistance. We understand that a lot of companies are really thinking about downsizing to reduce the level of losses. We hope that thanks to our co-investments during this time, that we can help retain jobs to help generate this, this economic growth, which is so necessary during these difficult times. And the third objective is linked to creating local solutions that respond to COVID-19 issues currently facing the region. And in particular, these are 2 issues that we've identified in particular. The first is with food security. We've noticed that there are a lot of value chains that have been compromised because of the slowdowns in COVID-19. So we hope that thanks to our co-investments, we can help alleviate some of these food security concerns. And that's one of the major objectives that we're looking for in Nigeria, more specifically within our 5 value chains, which do respond to food security concerns in the country. And our other second pillar that we're looking at is with the production of protective equipment, PPEs. We know that there's a lot of apparel and garment industries who have shifted their production to respond to COVID-19 locally, with masks, with hand sanitizers even, for example. So these are co-investment possibilities that we are also exploring. So that's an overview of our COVID-19 rapid response. So I guess the next question is, how can I get involved? How can I take advantage of these opportunities? So we have grant solicitations that are currently live on our website. We have 2 in particular, and the second one is something that I'll bring up with, which is also key to note. The first is linked to catalytic business concepts, and that's an APS that anyone can go on our website. It's www.westafricatradehub.com. I'll write it later, where you can look at the co-investment opportunities and look at our grant solicitation that is specific to catalytic business concepts, which is what I more or less explained. There is a second grant solicitation, which is strictly on the 5 value chains and the 7 states, that is only offered in Nigeria, which is for research and development. Okay, and that's a second grant solicitation that companies can also apply for. And these are activities that focus on the modernization and the innovation that we can bring to these 5 value chains in Nigeria. So, for example, we're working with companies that have strong research and development components with new varieties of inputs, whether it's fertilizers, whether it's corn or soy seed, these type of things. We're very interested in these sorts of proposals coming from the private sector, trying to integrate this modernization into Nigeria, bringing new innovative practices, or even if it's linked to land preparation or digital services, processing innovations, storage innovations, all of these things that have a research and development element to it, we are also extremely interested in, and that there is a grant solicitation that is available to private sector businesses that want to take that angle as well with research and development. So with that being said, I think it's a good opportunity to open it up for any questions that you have. And again, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of Trade Hub team members that are here. USAID is here as well. So we're available to answer any of your questions. It's a perfect opportunity to do so. And I believe, Sola, do you want people to respond in the question and answer box below? Or how should the question and answers proceed?
Yeah. Are we taking question and answers, Carl?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a question and answer. It's up to you all. I think it's up to you. It's your. I apologize. I thought there was a question and answer segment. So
yeah. So are you done with your basic presentation now?
Yes.
You are done with the basic presentation. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Carl, for that insightful presentation. We would like to take comments, feedback from the floor, from all participants. I could see that some chats have come in, but before I read those, have we got anyone that wants to speak right now?
I think you're on mute.
Okay, so Carl, I think we just take the chats and address them one by one. Can you see them?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's great. And I see, and I'll answer them, and I might also have my colleagues answer as well if I don't have the answer. So definitely feel free for the attendees, if you have any questions, please continue to type them up on the question and answer box, and I'll respond as best I can. The first question is, are you partnering with companies in the palm oil sector? So it is not one of our 5 value chains in Nigeria. We are working in the palm oil sector outside of Nigeria. We've got a couple co-investment partnerships that should be starting shortly that focus on, I think one in particular is in Ghana and Liberia. We are open to palm oil if there is strong U.S. trade and investment. And that's linked to the Prosper Africa initiative that I'd mentioned before. But if it doesn't, we are within this framework of the 5 value chains in the 7 states otherwise. I see there's a question, mining is the new oil. How ready is the trade hub in funding licensed mining companies? I can tell you that we are not, unfortunately. We are interested in any activities that focus on renewable energy, on the other hand. Any sort, and this is something on a regional level more specifically, but we are not in oil or mining or natural resources. The next question, how can AGOA help with the process of certifying food commodities before they leave the shore of Nigeria? So they're not rejected once they get into the United States. Cara, I think you would be good to respond to that if you could, please.
Thank you very much, Carl, and thank you to Tunde Giwa, who asked this question. It is an interesting one. Let me give you a brief over on the AGOA, and that will all answer to this question. So the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is a U.S. trade preference program, allows sub-Saharan African countries to export up to 6,500 products duty-free and quota-free to the US. AGOA was in 25. That said, AGOA is, let's say, a law, a trade preference program that is on paper, and it is mostly used for tariff purpose. So it's when the good arrive in the US, the port of entry, airport or seaport, that the product will receive a duty treatment and before it is allowed for consumption in the US. So you will see that AGOA will intervene at the end on the US side, while the certification issues need to be addressed in the exporting country even before the goods are exported, as you rightly mentioned. So I will say that there is no link between AGOA requirement and the certification because in the AGOA rules, there is nothing that say that a product must be certified before it benefits from AGOA duty-free treatment. These certification issues come mostly through 2 things. The first is the quality of the good. Is the good proper for consumption? Is the good enough clean for consumption? In this area, you may be asked as an exporter to provide a HACCP certification based on the sector. It can be the case for the juice, it can be the case for fish and the seafood, etc. The other type of certification are basically asked from the client, from the buyers themselves, where they are maybe working in some niche market like organic, like fair trade, like halal, and so on. And then in this case, the client can request for a specific certification like this before it even issue a contract for importing this product in the US. I hope that I have provided the answer you are waiting for this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cara. And I should have introduced Cara. He is our AGOA specialist. He is the AGOA specialist in the region. So we're really happy to have him on board. So I've also typing questions, passing it off to my colleagues as well. So we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. How can a finance house partner with you on these projects, especially as it relates to SMEs? We have our grant solicitation that is out that that you can apply for. But more specifically, and I think I should have cited this already, for all the attendees, we will provide afterwards a clear guidance on how you can reach us, because there's certain members of our team that focus on certain things. We have a finance and investment specialist, for example, who works primarily in working with financial institutions on the best way to co-partner with us. So we'll provide additional information on how you can get, you can reach out to us, and then we can continue the dialogue for those who are interested. Question, does the research, I guess research and development opportunity is it specific to value chains? Does the research opportunities specific to the value chains require co-investment or solely USAID funds? So I think there might be a confusion. So we are looking to co-invest with private sector or even organizations who are looking to invest in those 5 value chains for research and development purposes. But they have to be market driven, which is why we're looking for private sector entities in particular who are interested in providing this modernization into these value chains. We are a USAID funded program. So our funding is USAID funding. We are looking, thanks to our funding, that we are hoping that it can catalyze new private investment. I should have mentioned as well before that as far as eligibility is concerned, while I mentioned that our target is 5-to-1, in order to become eligible for co-investment, you must meet a minimum of 1-to-1 of new private investment. I'd like to specify that the new is very important. Our goal is not to necessarily piggyback on ongoing activities. The goal is that we work with established and proven financial, whether it's financial actors or with businesses, that we can help them expand their business and that they provide the new investment with the expansion of their activities, whether it's for catalytic business concepts or whether it's for research and development. I will also mention that for research and development, the grant sizes can be on the smaller scale. We're actually anticipating grants being from $250,000 to $500,000. The next question is, what about transportation? I should mention as well that we are interested in any sort of logistical support that can be provided to help facilitate the movement of goods with the 5 value chains in the 7 states. So yes, that's something that's of extreme interest to us. And also, if there are any strong, as I mentioned, with Prosper Africa, strong two-way ties are things that we're interested in as well. What plans do we have for the manufacturer sectors and development of tools and maintenance? So I will reiterate that when I'm mentioning what we can and what we're looking for and what we're not looking for, I'm bringing it to a Nigeria perspective. I should reiterate that we work all across the region and we have different target states, and that each target state has a different strategy. And I'm making it primarily for Nigeria, but we have target countries, Ghana, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Niger, Liberia, and Cabo Verde. So we have a lot of target countries, and each country has its own specific strategy. So what I'm giving you is really more on a Nigerian basis, and we can certainly answer for any questions you have on a regional basis as well. But when it comes to manufacturing and tools and maintenance, again, I think primarily we're looking for the 5 value chains in the 7 states. But however, if there are strong US traded investment, two-way traded investment between Nigeria and the United States, we are also interested in those opportunities. And that can be in a variety of sectors, including manufacturing and tools and maintenance. For the next, looking at the time too, I think we still have some time. Would your team consider supporting for processing export of coconut oil and water through AGOA? Our AGOA technical assistance is not limited to the value chains and the states. So when I'm giving you guys an overview of what our limitations are with regards to the value chains in the states, that is specific to the co-investments. However, we can always provide technical assistance to companies that wish to export under AGOA. So we'll be providing you all information on how you can get in contact with us on any sort of AGOA technical assistance that you might be looking for. Can you consider other states like aquaculture in the states of Lagos? The majority of our funding is specific to the 7 states and the 5 value chains. So that's something to bear in mind, that this funding is more or less specific to the 5 value chains in the 7 states. As I mentioned, if there are strong US trade and investment under Prosper Africa, these are things that we can explore as well. And I said before, sharing contact information, we will provide a means how you can get in contact with us and giving you additional information moving forward, hopefully either today or tomorrow. The next question, we produce healthy teas and spices. We have spice green and black tea mixes with natural herbs. Do you consider giving grants to this kind of business and expanding and start exporting? Again, this gets back to what I was saying before with the Prosper Africa initiative. These are, if it does have strong two-way trade and investment with the United States, we would take that into consideration. How old does a company need to be considered for co-investment? That's a very good question. Honestly, we don't have any sort of, it doesn't really matter. I think what matters in particular is the amount of co-investment that can be generated, the private investment, the amount of new private investment that can be generated. So with that being said, typically with incubators, as we would say, or startups, often they do not have the capacity to generate the new private investment targets that we might be looking for. We are nevertheless interested in targeting SMEs, particularly the S's, if it's through financial institutions and financial actors, whether it's private equity firms, whether it's financial advisory firms, whether it's banks. These are ways that we can perhaps target newer companies. But the big key for us is really the level of new private investment, and any sort of company, whether new or old, that can help generate that new private investment, we're very interested in. Do the research opportunities specific to that I already answered. Can a company in rice and soya bean processing in Ogun State benefit from the initiative? As I mentioned, I think the key is the 7 states. That's where our primary focus is. So I think one idea is if there are any, you might be a company that focuses on states that do not target our 7 states, but because our objectives are linked to these states, you might want to think about expanding to those 7 states, to one of those 7 states as well. These are things that we've already come in contact with businesses who say, for example, you mentioned Ogun State, which is wonderful. If you have any consideration of working with farmers in one of our 7 states, that would be something that we would be very interested in. Because on the Feed the Future perspective for USAID, their key is to help benefit the smallholder farmers who are within those 5 value chains. So that's very key when we're talking about why we're doing this. It's really to focus on the beneficiaries of these states. So absolutely, if you feel like we're looking for expansion of activities, and if you have any ideas on expanding to those 7 states, we would be very interested in. I think we still have about 4 minutes, so I'll try again before passing it off. I think we're done at 1 o'clock. Can there be any assistance in marketing our product in the United States or any financial assistance? We are very interested in providing technical assistance and even potential financial support if there are strong ties, U.S. ties, as I've mentioned before. And that's regardless of the value chain. I should mention that the 5 value chains, the 5 target value chains, we are not expecting many exports coming from them. So any sort of additional value chains that do have export qualities, particularly to the United States, we're extremely interested in. And so, for example, anything with regards to shea butter, for example, we would be extremely interested in. And that would be a strong candidate for a Prosper Africa initiative. A few other questions. Pioneer is the biggest organic superfood producer. Pioneer, based in Kaduna, is the biggest organic superfood producer in West Africa. We want to expand and look for finance to expand our processing facilities. Again, this gets back to what I was saying before. I think the key is the strong U.S. Trade and investment. And if it's outside of the value chains, then it has to have that strong U.S. trade and or investment element. And if it does, then yes, we would be interested in it. What are the opportunities available to companies that are interested in trade facilitation? Very much so. And I think this is also, it's depending on what kind of goods or services that would be facilitating. Like, for example, I think, and where are they going to? So I think we would be interested in figuring out how to integrate that trade facilitation, but how would that, what would be the, what goods would be facilitated, and whether there would be two-way trade and investment that would be interested in. How can we sign up and become involved in the WGDP initiative? That's a very good question. We do have dedicated WGDP funding, but not specific to Nigeria. It is at a regional level. We also have a large portion of WGDP funding that is targeted to Ghana. And that's, for those that are unfamiliar with the WGDP, this is an initiative that's been being led by the US government that really promotes women empowerment initiatives, including supporting women-owned businesses. One of the things to note is that regardless of whether it's WGDP or not, particularly in Nigeria, we are strongly promoting women-owned businesses and women empowerment initiatives, regardless of whether it's GDP or not. This is something that we are very strongly in favor of, and any women-owned businesses or any initiatives that really empower women, we are very, very strongly interested in. And I believe we already sent a reminder of the 5 value chains that was provided again. So with that, I think we're near the end. Sola, do you? Are we near the? Are we at the end of the time? I think it was at 1 o'clock.
Carl, I think we started 10 minutes late, so I think we can stretch it for the next
Wonderful.
10 minutes.
I have no problem of answering. I can answer questions. Go ahead.
Also check the chat box. There are also some comments in the chat box, apart from the Q&A box. If you check the chat box, that is on the top left, top right side of the screen. Under more, you see chats. There are also some comments there as well, apart from the Q&A. So please proceed. So just proceed to 1:15 and then we wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I will admit I have a very bad time of doing 2 things at once. I'll try to look as well. But definitely if you see, how about this? I'll do the question and answer, and if you see a couple in the comment box that you think I can respond to as well, you can ask me and I'll respond absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Wonderful. Can you 5 value chains? We already did. Question. Oh, I see this. The question directed to 60 million grants of 15 million. Most Sierra Leone businesses are unable to access funds due to the high percentage. Can we revise the new private investment required? That's basically the, and thank you very much for the question. And it's very relative to what we're getting at. I think I should mention that we do not look specifically at initiatives specifically on their, how can I say, on their new private investment levels. We understand that an activity can have other benefits. Maybe it's only meeting our minimum 1-to-1 requirement, but has a lot of export potential. So these are things that, I mentioned about our 5-to-1 target. That's great. But we will be working with companies who might not be able to meet that 5-to-1 target, right? But they bring other things to the table, maybe very large job creation, or maybe very large trade, in particular to the United States. And we have other secondary indicators, particularly with research and development, whether we are touching on number of hectares or number of new innovations introduced. These are things that we're looking at an activity as an ensemble, and we're not, we have our minimum of 1-to-1, which we hope can be met. We have our minimum grant size is $250,000. We hope that we could work with private sector entities who could at least generate that 1-to-1, and even more, because we hope that our grant funding helps catalyze new private investment. So to give you an example, we hope that a business can get additional debt or equity by saying, look, we are in the process of finalizing a grant agreement with the Trade Hub, and this is grant funding. This doesn't have to be paid back. Would you be interested in providing additional funding? We're hoping that these are the processes that come out of this this co-investment fund. So we do have the minimum 1-to-1, but we do hope that because of the whole framework of our activity, that it helps generate the new private investment levels. Let me look at the Zoom chat as well. That a lot of that maybe I missed one, and how do I access the market? How do I access the market access consultancy services of the Trade Hub? And I think this is linked to technical assistance. I've been talking a lot. Cara, would you like to answer this? If you're there.
Hello, Carl, I did not get the question.
The question is, it's how can I access the technical assistance provided by AGOA? Is there someone I can speak with at the Trade Hub office? I am a producer of shea butter, groundnut oil, and sesame oil. So how about this? I can actually provide an answer. So after this call, we will provide you all with contact information that how you can reach us, okay? So you'll be able to reach out to us, and that we can then figure out ways to collaborate together, whether it's with co-investment funds or whether it's with technical assistance that's led by Cara Diallo. So I think we are done, Sola. Is there any other questions any other questions that you may have?
Not particularly. You know, we've spoken at length before this session. The aim particularly is to allow our members and people from the private sector to benefit from the opportunities available through the West African Trade Hub, USAID. So, on this note, I just have to acknowledge you and thank you, our members of your team, for coming to make this presentation to all our members and some other invited people that have logged in. We have close to 100 people logged in on this platform today. So we thank you, Gary, Cara, and Salimata, Godson, all of you there that are in your team. So I think what is left now, do you have any further announcement before we close, Carl?
Well, I did want to thank you all once again for giving us the opportunity to speak today. It's really a pleasure. What we will do is that we will send an email to all the registered participants that on contact information, key documents that can help you all get involved if you have any interest, whether it's with our co-investment opportunities, whether it's in research and development, whether it's in AGOA. It will also give you the opportunity to ask additional questions that you may have that we didn't get to today. So once again, I'd like to thank all the attendees and thank the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce for all the assistance all the support that you've given to us. It's truly appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much, Carl. On the screen for our members are two further events in the year for us. Carl, if you are free on 15th October, we can ask you to also link in here in case there are people who still want to ask one or two questions from you. Check your diary if it's okay for you. We have other panelists there that you can join. We can talk further about that later. So,
wonderful. Sounds good. It'd be a pleasure.
Super. Very good. So we thank all of you for coming. We thank our board members there. We thank Dave, the chairman of the programs committee. We thank Mr. Bayo. We thank Mr. Bayo Idowu for standing in for the president in the meantime. We thank all of you for joining, and the chamber is there to help you in your various businesses. Our aim is to help to stimulate trade and sustain trade. And that's why we are working with partners like USAID and so on, US Commercial Service Section and so on. So feel free to also contact us. We'll make, Carol will make all the documents available as she has promised. And we'll move onward. Thank you all. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks once again. It's a pleasure. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.